Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us. And I know more people will be coming on after. So welcome. Anyone can jump on at any time. We're very excited to have you guys here. First announcement I'll make is that we are having the next meeting Tuesday, the 9th of June at 7:30 p.m. And that is about home education and AI. So to see how families can be supported by AI, how children can be supported by AI without too much interference of AI. And the special guest for that is Carly J. Soda. So that's going to be very exciting to have her on in a month's time. But tonight we have the amazing Dr. Bellla D'ABrera on with us. I'll give a little introduction about you and then you can correct me with anything and add to it
Hello.
if you like. But Dr. Bellla D'ABrera, is that right?
D'ABrera.
D'ABrera.
Yep.
Dr. Bellla D'ABrera, sorry about that,
That's all
is the
right.
director of the Foundations of Western Civilization program at the Institute of Public Affairs. She brings a wealth of knowledge, holding a PhD in history from the University of Cambridge, and many more. She's also an author, and her recent book, Mindless, which I cannot wait to get. I kind of wish I knew about it before. I would have loved to have read it before having you on. Examines the social and philosophical foundations of modern left wing activism. Dr. Bellla, thank you so much for coming on today and being here and giving us your time, especially while you're away in Thailand, having an
That's
amazing
all right.
time. If you'd like to add to that introduction, we're really excited to have you, and I know you are going to share some extremely important things and very, very exciting things tonight.
Well, I hope I can. I feel like this is a group that already knows what the problem is. There's a lot of parents out there, and well, we call them normies, but not in a derogatory way. People just have no idea what's going on in schools,
Mm,
which is why I wrote the book because I'm desperately worried about the future of the country and what kind of country we're going to have in the next 10 or 15 years based on how children are not being educated in schools but rather indoctrinated. So
mm.
but look, I hope I can add some insights about the national curriculum. I was saying to Rob earlier, I spend a lot of time looking at it and I haven't looked at it for a year, and it's something
Oh,
that I put down thinking I never have to talk about the national curriculum again.
wrong.
But that's fine. And I've learned a lot in the last. I've actually learned more in the last year writing this book about the national curriculum, and I understand
Mm.
it more than I did when I actually wrote the report. So
Oh, that's amazing. That's
yeah,
awesome. Well, we're very excited because I still have a lot to learn. And I don't know if you know much about me, but we support homeschooling families. And
yes, great,
yeah, there is a lot of need out there. Families need to understand what's happening in school. Families need to take control back, I believe, as well. And the
yeah.
only way they can take control back is if they actually know what's happening. So thank you again for coming on. So I have a few questions. I'm going to start with the first one. If you could outline the work IP has done on national curriculum over the last few years and also relevant future plans.
Yes, so the IPA's been in this field since 2011, so that's a few years before I began, which
Mm,
was 2016. They published a series of essays, basically talking about how Western civilization was absent from the curriculum. And then in 2014, the IPA did a submission to the Department of Education and found that unsurprisingly, that the curriculum was unbalanced, biased, and fundamentally hostile to Australia.
mm,
And in that same year, someone also did a report about how English is taught, the English
mhm,
syllabus is taught, and they found that really no one was talking about the great books of the Western canon. And when I was at the IPA in 2019, we did a really exciting collaboration with Advance Australia. We produced an ebook that talked about the curriculum. But as I mentioned, I didn't really get into the space till 2023 when I did this deep dive into thousands of pages. And I was saying to Rob earlier, it's odd that no one had bothered to do it before then. I mean,
mm,
it's they make it deliberately difficult to look at on the internet, and you sort of really have to know where you're going. But it's not that hard to sort of these days to do word searches and really pick out what's happening.
mm,
So I did that critique, and that's kind of where all the the media came from, and where I began to be sort of when I began to talk with more confidence about what this
mm,
document actually is. And then my lovely colleague Claire Rowe, who's a child psychologist, did a great paper last year on how the sustainability cross-curriculum priority is literally driving children mad with this climate change narrative,
mm.
the end of the world narrative. So she's much more of an expert that I'd mentioned that in my report, but I hadn't got into the detail that she does. So I'd really encourage everyone to go and look at that one as well if they want to.
Yeah, that
So
would be
yes,
amazing.
we've been talking about the curriculum for a while.
That's great. If you have links, we'll like to share the links with everyone later as
Yes,
well. That would be
yeah,
really, really
I'll
good.
definitely put some links together.
That would be amazing. In your view, what are the major failings of the national curriculum?
Yeah, look, I mean that's the
That's
reason
probably
why
a
we're here
lot,
today
but
talking about it is because it's a grand fail.
mm,
It's failing on so many levels. It's failing it's failing by this like the sin of omission and the sin of commission. So it's not teaching children how to read and write properly and what they really need
yeah.
to know, but it's very strong on the things that they shouldn't be being taught or indoctrinated with. So, for example, critical race theory. This was definitely something that no one was talking about in the national curriculum because obviously the people who write it aren't going to say this is the unit on critical race theory and they're not going to say we're teaching critical race theory, but
Mm,
all you have to do is understand what critical race theory is and then read the curriculum to realize that it's just embedded into everything. So that in terms of there's sort of two aspects. One is that they will say that Australia is systemically racist as a country,
mm,
and that our institutions are built on white supremacy and privilege, and that all in Aboriginal Australians are defined primarily by oppression. So in that respect, they're teaching children that we're not equal citizens. It's very much, the voice to parliament. It's very much that we need to be divided into categories of race, an oppressor and oppressed.
mm.
And white children are encouraged to see themselves as privileged and everyone else, especially Aboriginal children, as victims. Um, and the authors of the curriculum decided to put this idea of Australia being systemically racist in the health and physical education syllabus. Um,
How long ago? How long ago
this
was
was
that? Because I don't remember it when I
this
was
was
at
the
school.
this was now you're testing me. When would they put this on? It's
Sorry.
been around for about maybe 5 years, but I'm just
Yep.
guessing. I can't.
I thought it was quite new.
It
Yeah.
was in the one that I looked at, which was the version 9. So
Yep.
that's been around since 2003, since 2000. But the priorities have been in there for since 2011.
Mm.
But I'd have to
Yep.
go back and see when they actually put this in. But
Yeah.
so there's moments in the curriculum where you're looking through the health and physical education syllabus, and they're saying, while your child is on the monkey bars, they need to think about systemic racism and how um, just really insane stuff that it takes your breath away with how inappropriate it is and how wrong it is. Um,
Mm.
but what what I've realized and what I have realized since then, and more to the point, is that the national curriculum is only part of the problem. It's the teacher training itself, and it's the materials that they're using in the classroom. And this is where you get into this idea of anti-racism. And I don't know if
Mm.
you've encountered it, which is that the classroom needs to be turned into an anti-racist classroom because teacher colleges are training teachers to see education as through the lens of power and privilege and whiteness and unconscious bias and systemic racism. So their main aim is to turn the classrooms into anti-racist classrooms and turn children into anti-racist individuals.
Mm.
And that doesn't come through when you just read the national curriculum. You have to go deeper and you have to look at the resources that they're using. So organizations like the Human Rights Commission, the New South Wales Department of Education, another organization called Racism No Way. All these organizations have the same aim, and they all produce materials that are used in the classroom alongside the national curriculum. So it's often very hard to know how bad it is because you have to be in the classroom to see it going on. So you can get an idea from the national curriculum to a certain level, and then you have to dig deeper and you have to talk to people and you have to realize that actually it's the third parties and it's this pernicious the materials that are being used alongside the curriculum.
For families who might be listening or watching this later, thinking, well, that's good. We want our kids not to be racists. How would you help them understand why this is actually a problem?
Yes, so it's not about anti-racism. It's about it's about undermining society, and it's about saying that we need to divide ourselves into racial categories, which is
Hmm.
very retrograde.
Yes.
And it is totally contrary to the idea of the rule of law and equality before the law, and basically what Australian society was founded on, which is everyone's equal before the law. And race has absolutely no place in the national curriculum or in a second voice to Parliament.
Yep.
And it's not healthy to focus on, especially, at a level of children don't see race. That's the other thing. They don't
Yeah.
see 2, 3, and 4-year-olds don't. I mean, they might notice, but it doesn't mean anything to them.
Mm-mm.
It's this obsession with racial politics of the authors of the curriculum that are imposing this in the school scenario, and I think it's really unhealthy. It's not
Yeah.
that children aren't racist. They need to
No,
be taught to be anti-racist.
that's right.
Um, so yeah, that's one of the
Very
problems with
true.
the curriculum.
Yes. What about the climate alarmism?
Yes, so as I mentioned, that is embedded in everything through the sustainability cross-curriculum priority. And it's not, as much as they'd like you to believe, it's not about conserving the planet and
Mm.
picking up plastic, which I totally agree with, and absolutely we must do because it's our inheritance and we have to look after it. This is all about climate apocalyptic, anti-scientific, Gaia worship, green radical ideology, terrifying the children. And
Mm.
again, it's embedded into nearly every subject. They can't go through their school days without coming across it. So in French and in English and in maths, and they're very brilliant at the way they can shoehorn these things into all the subjects. But
Yeah.
but again, it's something you that you really need to be aware of, which is that just, even things that sound innocent. So getting little 3-year-olds to recycle and um, it's kind of begins innocently and it's very hard to spot. But as you follow it through, as you go through the years, you can see what it becomes into. It's like we'll talk about the gender stuff, but it starts with all this discussion about identity, which sounds very
Yeah.
innocent, but the further you go down the track and the older they get, you realize that they've been planting the seeds for what comes later. And they do this with the sustainability. It's about recycling and looking after your environment and all these things. But then it gets into just full blown you're going to drown because the sea is going to rise. And again, this is all about the resources that they use. And this is something that Claire does really well in her report, which is go through the resources that are used in the classrooms. And
Yeah.
they are insane. And of course, they're driving children absolutely mad with
Yeah,
anxiety.
it's true. Well, anxiety has gone up, and I've looked at
Yeah,
some of the curriculum, and I can see where and why children are struggling.
yeah.
They don't even know how to say it. They don't even know why. But there's
No,
so much being fed into them, into their little minds at such a young age,
yeah.
plus all
Sorry,
the other
so
stuff that they have to go through.
Stephen's right. CRT is Marxist ideas of collectivism. It's all Marxism. It's a terrible combination of Marxism and then fear, and
Yeah.
then turning them into. I mean, we haven't even got into the broader picture of why this is happening, and which is that they need to create cogs in a machine, and they need children that are ready for the revolution, that a communist revolution that will probably never come. But that's another discussion.
Globalism.
Globalism. Which leads us on to the next
Yes.
problem in the national curriculum, which again is something that very few people sort of noticed because it's a funny one. It's not overtly it doesn't seem overtly damaging. So the national curriculum is uh promotes global citizenship over Australian citizenship, and I think that's very important in terms of what's happening now with mass immigration and the demographic
Mm.
change in Australia that we're not allowed to talk about because we will be arrested for hate
Racist.
speech as racist. But so you lay the groundwork by telling children that they are to see themselves as part of humanity at large or citizens of the world. And so then it becomes that they think of themselves as global citizens first before they think of them as themselves as Australian citizens. But
Mm.
the problem is once, and I'm telling everyone what they know, once national citizenship's been hollowed out, then mass immigration can be presented as just morally and politically neutral. So
Yeah.
it's not the questions, debates about whether there's too many people or it's changing the character of the country or if citizens have even consented or whether you can sustain a common culture become irrelevant. The only
Yeah.
question is, have these new arrivals been legally processed? Are they, so um, it's not something I've spent much time talking about, but when I was writing it, I think we hadn't really this question about mass immigration hadn't really wasn't really being discussed as much as it is now because we weren't getting the 3,400 people a day.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that is a bit more pernicious and a bit more less overt in the national curriculum that I think that we need to also focus on and parents need to know to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Which parts of the curriculum have been distorted by radical gender theory and your views on this, please?
Yes, again, I'm probably telling you everything that you already know about this. And I think it's the most disturbing one and the one that really wakes a lot of parents up because it's so overtly evil. There's no
Mm,
better name for it because it's corrupting the innocence of children.
absolutely.
And it's the one that most parents seem to be worried about, and for good reason because of that. But also it's quite hard to get through the language.
Yeah,
'Cause the language is deliberately confusing and weird and synthetic, like non-binary and cisgender. It doesn't mean
yeah,
anything and it's made up. Um, but the the programs, I mean, you in Victoria will know better than anyone else that it's been in the Victorian curriculum for a lot longer than it has in the national curriculum. It's it was in I think it was 2016.
yeah. I think it was 2016 or 2017
Yes.
when
So
Dan
you've
Andrews
got
brought that
now
in.
10 years. It explains a lot. You've got 10 years of children who've gone through this insane
Mm,
indoctrination with radical gender theory and queer theory. It's it's uh it's a terrible topic. But it's there and it's in the respectful relationships programs.
mm,
And even though the people who design this program will say it's all about producing children who are good citizens and respect each other and behave well towards each other. It's got nothing to do with that at all. I mean, you just have to read into the. It joined the national curriculum in 2024 in answer to that question from Beth. So it's been in there for 2 years.
mm.
So now you've got the whole country that's going to be learning this stuff. I don't even know where to begin with how bad this is. It's there's two things. There's many things going on. So uh, gender theory is the umbrella term for queer theory and then intersectional feminism and this idea of toxic masculinity. So they're getting a lot of different things under the umbrella of gender theory.
Yeah,
Um, and basically, they are designed to undermine the idea of the family and the idea of what it is to be a man and what it is to be a woman and undermine the very foundations of society. Queer theory, I find especially terrifying because queer theory basically says that there is no such thing as childhood,
mm,
um, and that childhood innocence is a false notion. So this is why you have people who have no problems with talking about talking to 3 and 4 year olds with about masturbation because they're not there's no such thing as innocence.
yeah,
It is really sick, and this is not the forum to go into great details about it, but it's really dangerous, and I it just on that alone, I wouldn't send my children to public schools.
yeah,
I just wouldn't expose them to that. And people don't really understand that when they start talking about pronouns and social transitioning, they don't understand how dangerous it is underneath those superficialities.
yeah,
Um, and um, the sad thing is that if you say anything, especially in Victoria, you will be denounced as a bigot or a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. But if you just look into it for 5 minutes, you can see that it's terrible. I mean, just to give you an example, in year 7 and 8 of the national curriculum, and I've just got a couple of examples that I
yes,
cut and
please.
pasted.
Mm.
They will be developing strategies to challenge narrow views of gender, race, violence, sexuality, gender diversity, and ability to contribute to inclusive communities. Um, they'll be researching how norms, stereotypes, and prejudice are challenged in local, national, and global contexts. they'll be exploring scenarios and texts that demonstrate how gender inequality can arise from intergenerational patterns of inequity and unequal power relations. So, this is really deranged stuff that has been
Mm.
dreamt up in the halls of academia by deranged Frenchmen and now remarkably have found their way not just into the schools but into the kindergartens as well. I've done a whole report on how they're in the
Yes, the
early year one.
kindergartens.
Um, so we still haven't really seen how much damage these theories can do to children because again, it's only been in the national curriculum for 2 years, but you can see the effect in Victoria. There's a lot of very disturbed and unhealthy and mentally unfit young people who have gone through the system and believe all this stuff. And, the numbers of the people going to the clinics have skyrocketed. And it's not a coincidence that they're being taught this.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually know someone personally whose daughter wanted who decided she was a boy,
Yeah,
and the family didn't accept that. The family refused to call her a he, and they got the department onto them. They got visited by the
yeah,
police
yeah.
because the father and the mother didn't want to call her a him.
Yeah, well,
And
this is the problem. This is the big question is who do children belong to now? And this is one of I devote a
that's
chapter to
it.
this, which is again, do the children belong to the state or do they belong to the parents?
Yeah.
And the state believes the children are theirs. It's theirs.
100%. And this girl, she was influenced because of her own, I guess, traumas that she's had, anxiety and not fitting
Mm,
in, and
yeah,
all of a sudden she fit in, all of a sudden she belonged somewhere and she believed she was a boy. That didn't last long, so thankfully, it came about a year later before any transitioning happened. Um, she was like she had a crush on a boy and she realized, oh, maybe I'm a
yeah.
girl because I like
Actually,
a
maybe.
boy. She was only 13. So,
Yeah, there is
thank goodness.
the social contagion aspect is a big thing. I mean, the girls when I was at school, it was anorexia
Yeah,
and
yeah.
um
And bulimia.
and bulimia, and that's been replaced by something much more
Yeah,
disturbing. But
yeah.
yeah, the damage that's being done to society through these theories, and a lot of the teachers who push it uh, do think that they're doing the right thing. They think that this is the grand equalizing of society and that we need to get rid of the inequalities between men and women, or whatever they think. I think a lot of them are well intentioned, but I certainly know that the people who devised these theories are not well intentioned and they knew
Mm.
exactly what they were going to be doing to society.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's very, very sad. But I am noticing a lot more families are waking up to it and
Yeah,
they're afraid of it. And it's
yeah,
not just the public schooling system anymore. Private schools have started to bring in teasers of it, whether they're
yeah,
Christian, Catholic,
yeah,
even Muslim schools.
yeah.
So families are afraid. They're afraid of what's happening and what's coming in there. So thanks for that. It'd be great to get some more information from you as well, just because I know that families do always question, how can they find out more? How can they find out from the school what's being taught? Because they're very
Mm.
secretive about it as well.
Very. That's the thing. There's no transparency, and they don't have to be.
No,
They don't have to tell the parents what they're doing.
no.
Even though the parents are the children belong to the parents and the parents are the clients of the school as well. But the I think it's really interesting that there's been an outsourcing, obviously, of child rearing to the state since women were told that they had to go out and
Get
join
a
the
job.
workforce,
Mm,
higher taxes, more taxes for the government, and obviously destabilizing the family. It's a win-win for the Marxist.
absolutely.
But it's got to a point where I think, and I did a lot of research into this in the book, and at least in there's a I feel I feel sorry for the teachers because they're having to teach children how to use the toilet. The parents have so abnegated their responsibility to a point where they're not even teaching their children the basics. They don't know how to. They can't
Tie a
recognize
shoelace.
tie a shoelace, put their jacket on, go to the toilet. Don't have any knowledge at all of words or numbers when they get to school.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, but I think I think mostly um, the state drives this idea that that they have taken the role of the parent.
Yeah.
They want the child, and the other point is that the state will never love your child. The state doesn't want the same things for you that you want for your child.
No.
It wants this child to have a worldview, and it wants the child to vote for it in the future.
Absolutely. Look, teachers are leaving as well because teachers are,
Yeah,
a lot of them are seeing what's happening out there and they don't like it.
yeah.
And they don't have much of a say. Others try to excuse it and try to
Mm,
look at the silver lining.
mm.
But Beth, you asked if parents asked directly, do the schools respond with truth? I have found that they're not very transparent when we do contact schools or parents contact schools. They don't get into the nitty-gritty of it. They'll just give an average answer.
Yeah. And
So
a lot of that too is because they probably don't know what they because they you bring in third parties to teach this stuff. And
yeah,
that's where, when there's always things on the news about someone being told something terrible at a school and coming home shocked.
yeah,
It's rarely from the teacher, it's from someone that they brought into from some
yeah,
dodgy organization. Um, and so a lot of the time the parents don't know, yeah, join the school committee, get involved in the schools.
yeah,
Stephen's just said
yeah.
that. A lot of the time, I think they just outsource this stuff because it's too difficult. It's too difficult. The teachers hate this whole respectful relationship stuff for good reason. Yeah.
Absolutely. Next question. Thank you for that. What are the philosophical underpinnings of these attacks on education and Western civilization more broadly? And you can also discuss, obviously, we'd like to know more about mindless, which obviously leads into your book.
Yes. So after having looked at this with the IPA, I thought it would be good to look at it in the broader context of what's happening everywhere. Um, because I am a conspiracy theorist, and I know that it's a global movement to turn children in the Anglosphere, especially, into the same type of person. Um, so I was actually contracted to do the book by an English publisher, and I worked with them closely they're a very good publisher. I worked with them closely for a year, and at the end of the year, after having looked at every chapter and loved it, at the end of the year, they got cold feet and said, you have to actually change what you've written and tone it down.
Wow.
So I had to pull out and do it myself. And so now the book still exists, which is great. So
Okay.
you don't need a fancy publisher in the UK to get the truth out. But it shows how terrified they are of this stuff. And it's just, it's just the truth. But I found looking at all three countries that this isn't just a problem of bad syllabus or bad syllabi or poor classroom practice. It's just a huge shift in the way we understand education and what it's turned into.
Mm,
And as everyone will know, it was traditionally about transmission of knowledge, culture, to a certain degree, moral formation, history, literature, science, education that most of us went through. And the teacher's role was to lead that child through those subjects and into the inheritance, into the transmission of knowledge, and be part of this generational transmission of knowledge. Um, and that has been broken dramatically by the idea that it's not about transmitting civilization, but transforming society. So you see that going way back, and I talk about Rousseau and I talk about Dewey in the US. I don't know if anyone's familiar with him. He was basically a communist. I talk about Gramsci and I talk about Frere and I talk about all the communists that were behind this,
mm,
without actually saying it's a communist conspiracy. But you can read between the lines. You don't have to even read between the lines. You can just piece it all together. And they saw the child not as a someone to be formed and educated, but someone to be liberated from authority and from the family, from the nation, from tradition, from religion, and as we've seen, from biological reality,
mm,
which is the latest version of it. And so this is why the classrooms become so vulnerable to all these ideologies, because when you say that knowledge is just a mask for power, and then education just becomes activism and you can do anything you want. So history becomes all about guilt, literature becomes identity politics, science is climate alarmism, civics is global citizenship,
mm,
and childhood itself is being politicized. And the children are victims of this massive social engineering project, which is turning them to these terrible, miserable political animals. Um, in fact, just as an aside, I don't know if anyone saw it, but there was there was a poll that the New Statesman did last week in the UK, and they interviewed women under 25 about their attitudes towards men and towards the world, and it was really terrible because 75% of them said that they hate men.
Wow.
It's just, and this is a direct result of the politicization of the classroom, and they're only interested in talking about Palestine and Israel. And
Mm,
that's it. They're only interested in abstracts and political abstracts. They're not actually scared of real danger, but this is what they're doing to children. So I've talked about how it's no longer about educating children, but rather emptying their minds of knowledge and replacing it with these deranged theories, and actually sending them a little bit mad in a way because they no longer recognize reality. The other aspect is that they're
mm,
taught that there's no such thing as objective truth and everything's subjective. So they're completely left, they're at sea in this world of what we know to be objective truth, but they're told that doesn't exist.
yeah.
And I really go into, well, what happens to the child's mind? What happens to how they see themselves and how they see the world, and what kind of person is this producing?
Mm,
It's producing someone who believes that if you take an angle grinder and you chop the down a statue of Captain Cook at its knees, then somehow you're solving systemic racism. You know, this sort of magical thinking. Um, Sorry, I'm ranting a bit, but it's a very big book
no,
to
no,
say.
go ahead.
So I really I go through the history of where the shift from knowledge the shift from knowledge to indoctrination to what we have now in the schools. And I
Yeah.
go through all three countries. It's really focused on Australia and the UK, with America coming a third, because there's much more similarity between Australia and England. It's almost identical
Mm,
what's happening in the classrooms, with just a few changes. Obviously, the UK doesn't get the Aboriginal cross-curriculum priority and all that kind of stuff, but it's the same. It's the
yeah.
same. And I just think it's really important. It's this is basically the survival of our one of the dangers of to our civilization at the moment is, as I said, the type of person that will be carrying Australia forward and Western civilization forward. And at the moment, I can't see who's going to be doing that with the way that children are being indoctrinated at school. Um,
Yeah.
to, uh, but again, there are positives. There are remarkable young people who are rebelling against all this. You know, we all know that that there's always going to be a cohort that rebel against the orthodoxy, and boy oh boy do they know they're amazing people. I mean, I didn't really know that much in my 20s in terms of this this attack on Western civilization. I didn't think about it because it was everything
Yeah.
seemed fine. And now you've got people who are really, really smart and really coming up through the ranks, and I hope will be the future. But we don't know.
No, and it is risky. And you know that saying the children are our future, it is the truth. It is the absolute truth because they become adults and they end up
They do.
running the world,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And if we've got
Yeah.
Albo, Albo's had a pro can you imagine if Albo's an example of someone who had a decent education? Can you imagine what it's going to be like in the who our prime
Imagine.
minister will be in the next 25 years?
That's a
So,
scary thought.
it is a scary thought. It is a scary
Very
thought.
scary thought. Oh, yeah. So I guess homeschoolers are they need to be homeschooling. More people need to be homeschooling
They
just to
really
get
do.
that security
Yeah.
back.
That's where
Yeah,
one thing where the Americans are really they're leading. I think it's 6%,
absolutely.
6% in America, as you will know. And thankfully, homeschoolers are no longer seen as the nutty ones. They're actually seen as the sensible ones.
Yeah,
So that's a massive, massive shift to when we were growing
shift.
up.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I honestly, I my conclusion of the book is if it's child abuse to send them to public school to get
Wow.
to be ruined by this stuff. I can't think of it any other way. And there's a guy called Luke Rossiak, whose book I quote from, was just a journalist in America. And he moved to another state to educate his children, and then ended up saying, I can't even send them to these schools because it's child abuse. So a lot
Wow.
of people are coming to that conclusion.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
so sad, yet amazing. But America is great because their laws are different. So homeschooling and you can even
Yeah.
start a school there
I
without
know.
the red
I
tape.
know. There's amazing schools in America. There's
Yeah,
amazing schools.
absolutely.
There's the Chesterton
Absolutely.
schools. I don't know if you know about those.
Yeah.
I would have killed to have gone to that as a child. Or,
Yeah, it's
but
incredible.
Australia, UK, similar red tape. Government doesn't want to let anyone out of its grip, makes it very hard. So I really admire people who make the sacrifice because it's so hard and protect their children from this stuff because
Yeah.
otherwise it's just going to be a world of pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I hope this wasn't depressing, and I hope people learn something.
No, no,
Oh,
it's incredible. And it's the truth, you know, the truth can
yeah,
hurt, but the truth needs to be said because people need to know what's happening out there. And it's really, really important because one
yeah.
day it's too late, you know, in 10 years, 15 years, like you were saying, it's going to be too late. Rob, you
No,
have a question.
I was going to say, Bella, it's not depressing. I'm just pleased to hear somebody else say it.
Other than Rob.
Because the work of Foucault and all that kind of stuff, I'm actually, well, I forgot my Foucault now,
Yeah.
but the way it's been implemented, interpreted by second and third grade academics in Australia is
Mm,
terrible. It's
yeah.
terrible. They actually don't understand the original French text. That's part of the problem.
Mm.
So
But
I'm very,
did anyone understand the original French texts even at the time? I don't think they really even understood each other a lot of the time.
what that's another topic, but one of the really interesting things was that one of my lecturers went to the Sorbonne,
Yeah.
and one of the things he pointed out to us was that Foucault was really big in the English-speaking world, but he said in France, where they understand
Mm.
what he's talking about, they think he's a
Mm.
nut. So you have a point there, Bella. No, I
Yeah.
just wanted to point out it's not what you're saying is not depressing at all.
No.
I have my own views about it, which we might get onto later. Sorry, Lydia, I just wanted to show up in there. Okay.
All good. Thanks,
Yeah,
Rob.
yeah.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if you know that, you probably know this, but Foucault and other French colleagues were signed a petition in the 1970s to legalize to lower the age of consent.
Foucault's views on sexuality are not my
Mm.
thing. He's nuts.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful, I shouldn't go into this, but I can't remember the reference now, but he went to some conference and took all these professors and takes them off to the red light district. The guy
Yeah,
is just a different planet, you know? Yeah.
seriously disturbed. And you know
Uh,
that it's disturbing that someone like that, and I think you can look at someone like that and go, well, they can't, any ideas that this man comes up with, any theories cannot be good just by nature of how he lives his
Mm,
life. And
yeah, it's some
um
real issues there with
it
Foucault for
really
sure.
is. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
But anyway, that's another topic. But yeah,
yeah.
they love him in that. They love Paulo Freire a lot in the education faculties. He was all about, I mean, he was the Marxist, and he was all about bringing children to consciousness in the classroom.
mm.
And they literally put up a statue to him in the University of Cambridge education faculty a year ago.
Wow.
That's how
Oh
much
no.
they love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not great.
But there is a positive side to this, Bella, and that is that in countries like Australia and the people here and the people who are in our branch, people are taking their kids out of schools.
Yeah,
The other thing is that in my old age, I've become very religious, you know. It's a bit of a mistake, I know, but I can't resist this quote. The only defense against Leviathan is God.
yeah.
Now, when I was probably your age or younger, I didn't have the faintest idea what that meant, but now I know because that absolute sense of morality resists this sort of stuff, big
Well,
time.
yeah. I mean, on a personal note, I'm not that young, by the way.
Oh,
I'm gonna be
sorry.
52 next week, so
Have a
You're
birthday
an
um
for next
ankle
week.
biter compared to me. You're an ankle biter. But
but I've been, I was brought up a traditional Catholic, and it's given me an ability um to be able to look clearly at this stuff and not be affected by it. And my parents, I really admire my parents for having had the wisdom to sort of put me on the straight and narrow early on, because it was even around in the 80s. I mean, my parents, my father was thinking of starting a school in the 80s. He thought it was bad then.
Oh,
Can you imagine what he'd
yeah,
think of it
yeah.
now? But yes, look, a lot of people are going back to church. A lot of it is anecdotal. A lot of young people are going to church. Um, but I've heard from priests that they're chockers. They're full to the rafters now, because naturally the more things appear to be malign and extreme, people will look for some kind of way of fighting it. But it is the only way, because I do believe that these ideas are, because they're deliberately designed to undermine the family and everything that's good about society and everything that I believe is um, natural and designed by God, then I think the only way of fighting it is aligning yourself with God again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I'm not going to pursue the theology of this, but it's one of the things that's come to my attention, especially in my old age. And I used to be a teacher. I can assure you, young people don't like this crap.
No,
They really
No.
don't. They don't like it. They rebel against it. And when you're talking about gender theory in schools, I used to love teaching the year sevens because they were so innocent and full of fun.
yeah,
And
Mm.
yeah,
carnalizing kids like that is evil.
I know, I
It's
know. That's
just
why
pure evil,
it's pure evil. It's
Yeah,
child abuse.
yeah, that's my
Yeah.
view.
Yeah, and the other thing that I find really remarkable is how many people are really keen to talk to other people's children about these things. I find that a very weird aspect of our society that I that I'm constantly surprised by that. And it's a lot of women in their 50s who traditionally you'd think would want to protect children against these ideas. And they're the ones that are desperate to talk to toddlers about sex. And it's like, where does this come from? Yeah,
It's
how did
weird. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so weird. It's so
I don't,
weird.
I don't, I don't understand that, but I certainly do know. The other thing I think it's important here is that in countries like Australia, where probably 50 or 60% of parents, especially in state schools, come from non-English speaking backgrounds, they don't really understand what's going on because
No.
of the
Yeah,
language
no,
barrier.
no.
And one of the things that I think we all should think about is I know Ken had a heart attack when I told him this, but I said if we gave school councils veto power over curriculum, as soon as the local imam found out about transgender theory with preps, I tell you
Oh, look,
what,
yeah, it's the
yeah,
last thing they want. That happened
yeah,
in England. Actually, they have been quite vocal about the Muslims have been quite vocal about
they would be, yeah, they won't tolerate that.
yeah, I
I
remember
mean,
seeing pictures of the mother t teaching the child to stamp on the rainbow flag. I don't know. That's definitely not happening in other
yeah,
schools.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
interesting.
mean, she had a point.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from a libertarian point of view, what they do when they grow up, that's one thing. But for kids in schools, they shouldn't be exposed to this. Before I shut up, Bella, did you put the reference for that thing on queer theory in your book, Mindless?
Yes, there's a lot about queer theory.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I have to read up on this because I struggle to understand the mindset.
Yeah. It's
I,
it's basically pedophilia.
that's what it seems like to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
There is a lesbian group that makes that argument, in
Yeah,
Australia.
I mean, and they're right.
Yeah.
Because it's all about, the idea that there's no such thing as a child or childhood innocence, and that
Mm.
a 7-year-old is the same as a 17-year-old, or a
Oh.
8-year-old is the same as 18-year-old, and that's clearly where it's heading.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's all the drag queen story time stuff. That's all queer theory, and it's really sick.
Mm.
And Why do drag queens need to read stories to children? It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so yes, that's definitely in there. And then the gender theory, which is the gender just being a social construct, the Judith Butler sort of idea of the confusing idea of there is no gender. It's just the whatever society makes up at the time. I mean, it's a really complicated and deliberately confusing area, which is why parents really struggle with it.
Mm.
Yeah. So how do we defend ourselves against this attack on the Western civilization? Parents will
Well,
be wondering, what can we do?
yes, and this is the million-dollar question. And well, homeschooling is probably the best defense against it all, if you can, because you're completely in control of
Mm.
what your child is being taught. And at least these days, as we said, there's a huge community, so they're not isolated at home.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of I've worked with some really good homeschooled people at the IPA, actually, who are just
Amazing.
outstanding. Not weird in any way whatsoever. In fact, very sensible.
Yeah.
Um, and well, so homeschooling, and I whoever mentioned earlier, get on the school committee and just get really
Yeah.
involved in the schools. And I think you can still see from what a school is like if they've really embraced this stuff. Just looking at how many posters are on the wall, and it's fairly obvious,
Mm.
that how much rainbow bunting is there. Um, because they love that. They
Yeah.
love the rainbow
Yeah.
bunting.
They
And
do.
I know I was speaking to someone the other day that apparently Caulfield Grammar has got a new principal, and she's outstanding, and she doesn't want any of this stuff, and she's really big on teaching children how to speak French and German, and well, obviously, just from that she's not going to be a social justice woke warrior. She's come from England. So, there's individual schools, and there's always going to be good teachers and good principals, and it's just finding out is I mean that's the best way. But if you're homeschooling, again, you don't have that problem.
Yeah.
And you can use your materials, you can use your own materials. The IPA has been beavering away for years, producing some amazing primary and secondary resources, which is run by Colleen Harkin, my
Amazing.
colleague, who I think you might have heard from before.
Yeah, we have. She spoke at the Southeast branch.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's
And
good.
she's
Yeah.
just they're just pumping out all these amazing resources about um, uh, climate change, and Captain Arthur Phillip, the First Fleet. She's devised this First Fleet game, which apparently is really popular. I haven't played it, but the children love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so just go to I'll send you the link to all those as well. They're
Yes,
free.
please.
So it's much better than it was before, put it that way. So the worse
Mm.
things get, the better they get at the same time, where people scramble to balance it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't be sending my child to Fitzroy Primary School at this point.
No way. Yes.
I
No.
I volunteered at a primary school over the holidays,
Mm.
and I just looked around and I
Yeah.
cried. I had to turn around and I cried because the walls were covered with rainbows. They were
Oh,
covered with these strange stories, and even there was this pictures of just kids were drawing who they were, and there was a cat and there was a dog, and then Isabella was a boy, and
yeah.
it was everywhere, the whole entire room, everywhere. And I stepped in there and I felt like my heart literally, I don't even know, I can't even explain it. My heart broke
Mm.
so
Mm.
badly because because it was a year one
Yeah.
classroom.
Yeah.
It just broke. My heart broke, and I couldn't believe it. And I was so grateful that I'm out of school,
Mm.
that I didn't endure this much
Mm.
indoctrination. Um, but I think about my niece, she's only 10. I think
Mm.
about um, my friends' children's, and a lot of my friends don't even see the problem.
Mm.
And it's devastating. It's absolutely
Yeah, they don't see the
devastating.
problem until it's too late, and then the
Yeah,
Mm.
child identifies as a cat. And it's happening, and it
it
sounds
is. It
it is
happens.
it's happening. It happens in schools, but so how do you? I mean, this is the question. Another question is, how do you convince your friends who don't think this is a problem that it is a problem, um, without sounding like a mad person and
Yeah,
saying, you know, queer theory is pedophilia and it's a Marxist, it's a
yeah,
Marxist institutions. It's very hard. It's very hard to not sound um, a little bit like you're exaggerating the situation, but it's
yeah,
not.
Mm.
And 4-year-olds with a classroom full of rainbow flags and pictures of themselves as cats shows it's already working.
Mm.
yeah,
The indoctrination is already working. And
yeah,
as I looked into childcare is another story altogether. Um, it's they're taking them very young and getting them before they even get to school.
yeah. Well, they
Yeah.
are, and great. 3-year-olds are learning about stuff like that now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kinder.
It's
Mm,
embedded into the syllabus. It's government mandated.
yeah.
So yeah. So that's I mean just yeah, homeschool, and I think parents if they speak reasonably to their children and they explain things from the word go, isn't that a good foundation as well
Yeah.
to keep the trust of the child? And
Yeah.
I mean, I look, I don't know, I don't have children, so there's going to be people who are better equipped here and know better how to raise their children. But all I can say is that there's a lot of danger in the schools.
We've got
Oh, micro
Stephen
schools.
asking,
I
yes.
went to a great micro school in Perth, and it was delightful.
Wow.
And I had the opposite reaction to Lydia going to the school and nearly crying. I could not believe how wonderful these children were.
Oh,
And they'd
that's
been taken
amazing.
out of school, and because there's a loophole in Perth. Was it Perth or South? No, it was South Australia. So I know it was Perth, so I'm going crazy. There's a loophole, so they can go to this little school, but it's still not, but they're
The
still
school still
it's
homeschooling,
still
yeah.
homeschooling. And they were all sitting in rows and desks, and they were desperate to talk to me about whatever their experiences had been in other schools. And they talked about how they were bullied
Mm.
for various things, and they were absolutely loving being in the school. No phones. Um, they were using a really good curriculum from the US, like a Western Civ, a couple of really strong books. It was really delightful. I was so uplifted and hopeful after seeing these children that it's possible. I think it's a really good idea if you can do it.
Yeah, it'd be great to be allowed to open micro schools in other
Yeah, they can't
states.
do in Victoria.
Not at all. Well, New
Yeah,
South Wales, Victoria, not at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
Queensland, their regulations are quite tight when it
Yep.
comes to even tutoring. Our organisation tutors homeschooling families, and they try to shut us down, calling us a school just because
Really?
we apparently have within school hours tutoring
Okay.
because that's what our families prefer. So they are in Victoria. It's very, very hard
Yeah.
to have freedom to school your children how you feel is fit.
Gonna have to start underground schools like during the communist era and underground universities. Like Sir Roger Scruton started his underground universities in in the height of the communist
Ah, yes, that's
era.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've discussed how we've got homeschoolers, so you'll send us a link so we can share that with our people as well
Yeah.
regarding the resources, which would be amazing from the RPA. But also, what is fake history for those who
Ah,
don't
yes.
know?
Okay, so this is my sort of topic of I like this topic because it's sort of, I did my PhD in history and history was my first love, but I'd say it's not fake history so much as distorted or twisted history. So it's not fake, but it takes real events and just twists them and looks at it all
Mm,
through the warped lens of identity politics or decolonization or race theory.
yeah.
And that's this history that children are being taught in schools that we all know. They get there and they're taught from the very beginning that Australia was invaded and they've got to be ashamed, and it's all about guilt and saying sorry and painting sorry cards and saying I had someone telling me that their children came home and in tears because they were told that they had to apologize to for white people having stolen black babies. This is just another level of cruelty
Yeah.
that is
Mm.
being unleashed on children, these innocent little children being asked to apologize for supposed crimes committed by people that they weren't even related to hundreds of years ago. So
Mm,
this twisted history is something that again I that we're seeing with variations in across the UK and America and Australia. In America, it's the 1619 project, which
Mm.
is that America was founded on slavery,
mm,
which again is twisting the history. I mean, obviously there were slaves, but it wasn't the founding principle of the US. In Australia, it's the stolen land, um, First Fleet invasion, dispossession narrative, and in the UK, it's actually now become about uh, the migration and their and empire and slavery. They're really obsessed with talking
well,
about how the empire was responsible for slavery. They never taught that it actually ended slavery. So it's this history taught from the left decolonization lens, and that's why I joined this Cambridge group, because they fight it at a really high level. All the historians I admire most in the world has started this group, and so if you ever need to know the truth about an historical era, you just look at the website and it goes, all right, this is what happened. Okay, so so all these people didn't die in this thing. Oh, right. So and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant resource, and it's what children should be looking at as well. And they're
Yeah.
not, because they're being taught this one-sided view, this very depressing, nihilistic view of Australian history, of course, that then turns them into the kind of person who hates their own country.
Yeah.
Plus
Yeah.
combined with the climate anxiety, plus combined with the thing that with the global idea of global citizenship, plus the gender confusion. I mean, it's like, yeah,
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
it's a
And
lot.
yeah, it is a lot. And then the kids feel it. They do feel it. They certainly feel it. Anxiety is through the roof, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
And a lot of parents are wondering where it's coming from. But if they
yeah,
knew what they were being taught, and you know what's good, I heard that from 0 to 7 years old is where the most information goes in. And a child's very much influenced
yes,
between those ages.
yeah,
So if you think about kids that are getting anxious between 10 and 11 and then extremely anxious by 13, it's because of what they've been taught in the first 7 years of their life. And it's already there. And then it's on top of each other. It's like that book. You put one book on top, another book on top, another book on top. Eventually, it's going to crumble.
yes, yeah.
It's just too much information for them.
I can
Um,
see people asking for the resources that
yes,
history contains
please.
as well.
Fake
Yeah,
history ones, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very interested in that.
Oh, you'll love it. It's great.
Yeah, that would
I'm
be
very
These
great.
are
keen on it, Bella. I shouldn't interrupt, but I've been reading a lot of English historians like Robert Toombs, Sharma,
yes, yeah.
and
Toomsy, we call him.
yeah, well, he's good. I liked his book. He had a lot of evidence in it.
Oh, I love that book. That's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, that's right. He really got me going on.
Yeah.
There's lots of look. I won't bore people here with it, but I've thumbed that book. I've got notes on half of it, and I've got to take notes on the other half. It's a really good book. Yeah, and
What's the
Simon Sharma's book's actually good. It's slightly different, but it's good because he tries to tell it anyway.
yes,
I'm getting off topic here.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, but they're good books. That references for that would be very good, Bella,
I
because
will do that.
Foucault,
I
he
don't know
just
what Beth is talking about. Which resource is that pushy Great Dane interfering with note taking?
Very beautiful.
Oh, I see. The yeah.
look at that dog. Oh, don't forget.
I love those dogs.
Yes, so do I. Great
They're
Danes.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. There's a look. I'll put all these links together, and there's some really wonderful resources around now, thanks to the internet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank
Mm,
you. Well, I know we're kind of run out of time, but I do want to see if anyone has any questions that they might want to ask you because we're not going to get you on anytime soon. So
yeah.
take advantage of what we
Oh,
have.
I can
Does
always
anyone
come
have
back.
any? That would be, yes, please, because
Yeah.
we can dive. It'd be
Let's.
great if we could dive deeper into things,
Yeah, I think we
specific
should.
topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be amazing. But is there anyone who has any questions?
Beth,
Beth,
yeah. Speaker Beth.
Okay. Hello. How are
Good to see
hello.
you, Beth. Yeah.
Sorry for the pushy dog.
I love them.
We spoke with Helen Joyce last year,
Mm,
and she actually said, "Why are we censoring ourselves? Because the majority of people actually agree with
yeah.
us. It's just the
Yeah.
minority have louder
It's
voices."
true.
Do you agree? Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Helen Joyce, she's so good. I mention her and I quote her in the book because she's the only one that calls this stuff out a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
she's amazing.
And it is people have just been terrified into not saying anything.
Mm.
And I think it's probably a combination of things. It's probably people who know that it's wrong but don't know why, so they can't articulate why something like the respectful relationships is wrong because it sounds fine, but they know when they look further into it that it's something wrong.
Evil.
But there's also this fear of being called out, being called bigot, being called racist. We've still got that fear, and nobody wants to be called those things. It's very hard to just go, look, I don't care what people call me. I'm just going to
Mm.
tell the truth. And people don't want to lose their jobs. People don't want to be cancelled. I'm lucky because I don't have it's my job to call this stuff out. But if I was working in a normal environment, I'd certainly be scared to say anything, because you lose your job and uh, so yes, it's the majority can see most, if you point it out to them, they can see this is all wrong, but people are very scared to say anything.
Yeah,
And
they
we don't
are.
have the power. We're not running the institutions. That's the truth of it. We're not running the institutions. We're not writing the curricula. We're not running the Department of Education. We're certainly not in government. We're not coming up with these crazy theories. We're not in academic departments. We don't own the media.
Yeah.
We're not the third parties that are going into schools telling the truth. They've completely captured every institution, and people know there's something wrong, but we don't have the power.
Yeah.
A question on that, because you are a woman, and I can ask you as a woman. Moira Deeming in Australia was shut down because she fought out,
Yep.
but David went to the exact same protest and has brought it up more
Yep.
times than Moira and has never been attacked. And
Mm.
he got a documentary raised on it. Do you think women are in your role? Do you think you would be attacked as much if you were a male?
I think I would be attacked by the men pretending to be women. That's what's happening
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's misogyny,
yeah, yeah.
but they're wearing dresses.
Yeah, I just find it really interesting that they go so hard,
They do.
J.K. Rowling, you know,
They really attack the women. They really
they
attack the
really
women.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And do you find that in the home education space as well, or no?
I get attacked equally by everyone.
Okay.
But it's mostly the women, because I talk about education a lot, and they run the institution. They run everything. So it's heads of teachers unions, you name it. It's always a woman. It's the women that write the curriculum. It's just how it is.
Okay.
But it's definitely, there's a viciousness and a hatred of these men identifying as women, who really are full of the most violent vitriol against people like Moira. It's astonishing. And J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that.
They're amazing people.
They are.
Yeah, very free. Oh, it was.
Did anyone else have any questions? And someone's off mute as well. We can hear background chatter. Does anyone have any questions?
Have a look. Probably do.
I can put the messages, I can put the links in here, can't I, while we're doing?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be great.
That'd be good. Thanks.
I should
Yeah.
have thought about that. Sorry. That's History Reclaimed.
Where are you going now?
Amazing.
And I'll do school resources. Sorry, I was a bit slow doing that. Someone should have told me.
It's all right. Take your time, Belle. It's no hurry.
No. That's the schools program resources. Oh yeah, rules. Yeah, rules for radicals. What else do we want? Well, I'll do a shameless.
We have a question.
Yes.
I'll just read it. Sorry, it just appeared. What's your advice to parents whose kids ask questions around this stuff?
Around which stuff? About the gender stuff?
Gender, I presume?
Just tell them the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as non-binary. If you're a girl, you're a girl. If you're a boy, you're a boy. That's it. I don't know if anyone here follows Matt Walsh. He's pretty good on this stuff.
Yeah.
Just tell them the truth.
Yeah, tell the truth. Being in the field that industry that I'm in, and also parents, how do I put it? People guilt you. They guilt you if you say, no, I'm not going to agree that your son is a girl. He's a boy, and it's actually worse trying to tell him that he was created wrong, than telling him, no, you were created right. We just need to heal whatever's going on with you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
People guilt you for doing that because they're like, well, you don't understand. You don't understand. My son has tried to commit suicide. You don't understand the pain. It's very selfish of you just to say, don't go along with it. Don't affirm it. You don't know what we've gone through. So they do guilt people, and it hurts my heart again when you hear that because a parent wants the best for their child. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of parents get worn down.
Yeah.
They end up going along with it because they are worn down and they just want to see their child happy and
Yeah.
fulfilled.
Yeah.
The sad truth is it's short-lived if they do feel fulfilled for a short period of time. But parents are desperate. They're desperate for a happy child. So I think
Yeah.
that as well as what's happening in the schooling system, parents need to be educated as to how to help their children when their children do have mental health concerns, when they are struggling with depression or anxiety or body dysmorphia, things like that. I think
Yeah.
that parents need to be educated. There needs to be support for families, not from the government, because the government
Yeah.
will just support them in, the
Yes.
indoctrination way, but outside of that, to help families help their children heal,
Yeah.
to
Look,
educate them.
again, not my field, would be very, very difficult field to be in. I know that Claire,
Mm,
my colleague, the one that wrote the paper on the climate anxiety, is very much in this, and yeah,
mm,
it's very disturbing. And
yeah,
I feel terrible. I feel terrible for everyone involved, the children, for the parents,
yeah,
and a lot of rage towards the people who are pushing parents and children into these situations.
yeah, absolutely.
I've just shamelessly, I've just put a link to my book up there. And Scott,
Ah,
thank you so much for
yes,
buying it. Yay, that's 18.9 now on Amazon.
Oh, thanks. I'll get
great.
it done.
Yeah, I'll be getting that too. That's great. It's so good. It's something I'm going to be encouraging a lot of families. I'll actually share it on our pages as well.
Oh, thank
That'd
you.
be
Yeah, that's
great.
good. Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it needed to be written.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It now needs to be read.
Yes,
It
yes.
needs to be
And
read.
I did put some humor in it, so you don't want to bore people.
Yeah.
So hopefully it makes you laugh in some of the places. It certainly
Yeah,
Oh, that's
anyway,
so
this sounds
good.
terrible. It made me laugh writing it, so I think that's
yeah.
probably a sign.
So
That's
good.
good.
Thank
No,
you.
we'll promote it, Bella, because people need to read that.
Yep.
They don't understand what's going on. They
Mm.
really don't.
And it's very
Sorry.
Yeah.
difficult to explain it in an hour, jumping from one topic to the next. It's because it's so profoundly disturbing and deep, that you do need to look at it. You need to
Step by
spend time.
step.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd love to have you back so we can dive deeper into
Yeah.
one topic.
Yeah.
Um, because families are concerned. Families are very, very concerned. The ones that are aware of it and the ones that are just starting to get a taste of it.
Mm.
So, yeah, it'd be amazing. Do you have anything else you'd like to share before we finish off? We've already gone a little bit over time, but is
Just
there
Beth, no,
anything?
I haven't read it. I have to read. I have to hire a podcast studio and still read it out. That's on my list of things to do. So I'm sorry,
Ah,
Okay.
but no,
You will
it's not.
just have to read it to me in the meantime,
I'll
Stu.
read it
It's
to you.
your
I'll
job.
come over and read
Your
it to
job,
you.
Stu.
I'll have a glass of wine and I'll read you the bits that I think are the best. And
Yeah.
then
I'll come too.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Let me have a
no,
look here.
this has been great. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
No, thanks
Thank you
very
so
much for
much.
thanks for coming, Bella. We really appreciate it. And
Yeah,
I'm
And
so
really
good.
glad that somebody has finally written that book. That means that I don't have to worry about it
yes, you can just get on with other
anymore.
things now.
Yeah, I can
Oh dear.
go back to my dogs. Yeah.
I hope
Oh,
Stu
good.
and Tim enjoyed it. They didn't. They. I can't tell.
Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So good. Amazing. Thank you everyone for coming
All
on
right,
and thank you so much, Bella.
that's all
Amazing,
right.
amazing information and definitely we need you back.
Yeah, let's do it again.
So
Let's
much
do
to
it.
learn.